Welcome to the We Are VIP podcast. Each week, your host, Casey Hasten, Director of Recruiting at VIP, will bring you valuable insights from thought leaders, introduce you to incredible companies, and bring you tips for landing your dream job from our team of executive recruiters at VIP. And now, Casey Hasten.
Welcome to the We Are VIP podcast, a podcast devoted to adding value to your career or candidate search, brought to you by VIP. I'm your host, Casey Hasten. I'm the Director of Recruiting with VIP. I'm an executive recruiter, and I am your hiring guru. And you know it is my favorite thing in the world to bring you thought leaders, influencers, and people that are just going to help you not just find a better job, but just be better in life in general. And so today I have got a great guest with me. So let me introduce you to Dan LeFave, the 7-figure high-performing business coach. Dan empowers entrepreneurs to remove the bottlenecks in their business so that they can have a self-managing business. He helps professionals align and leverage their mindset to get laser focused, achieving results faster and increasing their revenue. Today, he joins us to discuss productivity. We could all use a little bit more of that, right? And share his tips to boost your own productivity, whether it be in your daily job or in your job search. So, and I want to add one more thing here. Dan is also certified through the Proctor, I want to make sure I'm saying this right, Proctor Gallagher Institute, and was personally mentored by Bob Proctor himself. So you guys are in for such a treat today. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Casey. Good to be here.
Did you know you were all that?
No, not really. I don't think too much about it other than, just history, right?
Yeah. No, but you're pretty fabulous. I know we've had some conversations in the past and we're part of some of the same networking groups, but I've really loved some of the insight that you've shared with me over our conversations. I think my favorite one was the Reading Mastery group. Is that what you call it?
We just call it a reading mastermind, but it's it's very unique because we study books like no one else. Like if I met anybody else that said to me, I've read a book 30 times, I'd be pretty impressed, but most people don't do that. So,
and you actually read it out loud as part of this, right?
Correct. Yes. Every single day, 365 days a year, and including leap years. But yeah, we read 366 of them. So, we read every single day, and we read the same chapter every day for 30 days and study books like this. Like we want to know them intimately, and so we study it, and then we do a book review, a chapter review at the end of that. And so we keep doing that. We've done it for 8 years now, and so it's pretty habitual.
That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And so do you do it, do y'all talk every single day, your mastermind group? Wow.
I talk to Mark more than I talk to my family, probably, like my parents and my brother. Yeah, because we talk every day. We see every single day. We have a call time booked, and we get on, and we usually keep it to about 30 minutes. Sometimes we read multiple chapters depending on how long the chapters are, but we make sure it's about 30 minutes long. And so we take turns starting, and that way we don't always read the same content every day. But so we basically study it. And the nice thing about it is when you give your attention to something like that, you end up attracting, that we have cognitive biases or this is more confirmation bias. So we have confirmation bias. So I'm reading all this content, and then I start seeing it through my clients or through my my business or in the world, and I'm like, then I start questioning, why is this happening? And then I'm like, oh yes, I've been reading this chapter, and I'm giving it attention, right? I'm seeing it in my clients. Like I read Jack Canfield's book, and he talked about considerations, fears, and roadblocks. And then what did I start seeing in my clients? Considerations, fears, and roadblocks. And then I could name them. I say, oh, that's a roadblock. And they're like, what? Yeah, there's considerations, fears, and roadblocks. It happens every single time you try to do something you're uncomfortable with. You're going to run into those. And they're like, really? I'm like, yes. So just pay attention. When you see something, ask, is this a consideration, a fear, or a roadblock? And know that it's normal, instead of saying, oh, this feels uncomfortable, can't be good, I'm going to stop, right? And that's what most people do. Like
Yes.
symbol, it's a signal, don't go. It's not, it's just a little bump in the road. It's a little hurdle. That's an indication not to, not to go into fear, because most people do. They go into fear. That's just natural tendency.
Yeah, and already we haven't even got started really, and like mic drops all over the place. And I just want to add to that because it made me think about a post that you did the other day. And I can't remember what the post was on, but I remember what it provoked in me was whatever the mind focuses on grows. And I think that's what you're saying, because you're focusing so strongly on those passages in the book that it just starts manifesting everywhere, right?
Well, you know what? We don't think about this, but if we think back to the time when we were getting ready, we're thinking about dating, or we were attracted to somebody, we put our attention on them. And if we put enough attention on them, which apparently I did back in grade, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that. And then by grade 7, this girl finally came around and started taking interest in me, which, I hadn't really said anything to her, but my mind was like, I like you, you're pretty, right? But then grade 7, she starts taking interest in me, and I'm thinking like, what's going on here, right? But that's the power, So when we are attracted to somebody and we want them, we start thinking about them, picturing them, and imagining what that experience would be like. So we do that in relationships, but we don't think about that in everything in life, but we should, because when we give something enough attention and focus, guess what? It happens. It's like an Olympic athlete. What does Michael Phelps do? Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, like just incessant amount of training and practice. He didn't win at the competition. He won in practice. His personal best was his best at the Olympics. He just needed to practice well enough. And that's also, so that's how I approach my life. It's like, if I just practice something enough, like I'm practicing studying books, and many other things, I think of it as PhD, pig-headed discipline. So I have PhD. so
Me too.
I have a different kind of, pig-headed discipline and a minor in determination. And so that's my, that's my personality. Those are my traits. And, I just live by that.
I knew this was going to be a good conversation, but before we get too much deeper, I like to share, because I think networking is so important, how we got connected. Do you remember who introduced us?
I think it was Berta.
Yeah.
Was it Berta? Yeah. Berta's amazing connector. So, Berta introduced us.
Well, and then interesting, we both ended up in the networking hub with Frank Agan. So, I swear, I think all connections lead back to Frank, because that's how I met Berta. So.
Yeah, well, I met Berta just on LinkedIn, and we connected right away, and then it spawned into a whole bunch of things and opportunities and conversations. So just fantastic individual. And that, I always think of it like this: we say birds of the same feather flock together, but I think I'm a runner. I used to do marathons, but I think about why not run with the best. So I'm thinking, okay, who can I find that's the best? And when I find with the best, I get them. We all run together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it can also be said that you up-level your tribe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the people that are closest to you are the ones that you rub off on, and they rub off on you. And so you want to surround yourself with great people. And you are one, and Berta's one. So might as well,
thank you.
Keep that going. I
keep thinking they're going to figure out who I really am and kick me out of the hub, because I'm like, I'm just me, So, but so far it's working. So, all right, let's get to our topic for today. So, I know that you do a lot of work with your clients on productivity. And so my first question to you is, what does it mean to be truly productive?
Well, if you're productive, you're getting results. And ultimately, on a psychological level, you're feeling good. So if you're going through your days and your weeks and you're not feeling good, then productivity is not there, or there's something misaligned. And here's the thing that most people don't know: when you're feeling good, those are literally thoughts moving through your body. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it from that standpoint, it's like, okay, what kind of thoughts are you having? It's like, oh my God, another day, or if you get up and you're like, oh man, I got so many things going on and I can't handle it and it's overwhelming, versus I have control over my day. I have a planner, I have my calendar, I'm following this, I'm getting things done, I'm checking things off. And there's systems and tools that I use that, they give you karma points for checking things off, So you at the end of the day, if I got 5 karma points, it's like, hey, fantastic, right? I might even get a little badge or something like that, that's a little validation. So
I like that, the karma points. I think I'm going to have to borrow that and maybe learn a little bit more about that system that you use, but I like that a lot.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, it all depends on, if you can see progress, if you can see results. And so and most people, if they don't have a goal, then they're not focused and they don't know when they have arrived, basically, right? They don't know what they've achieved. But if you set the goal, so you project, this is my terminology. I say you project and reflect. So every day I project and reflect on what I've accomplished. Then every week I can project and reflect on the full week. Every month I can project and reflect. And so I can keep doing that over and over again. And as long as I do that, I'm looking for evidence for the thing that I want. And I should, if I'm not productive, it's going to be very evident. It's going to be chaos, and chaos isn't very difficult to see. It's your desk, your environment, your car, your life, your investments, everything reflects that. T. Harv Eker had a great statement, which I'll never forget, which is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So just look at your life. I mean, I do this. I do these fun little things with my clients because I'm very counterintuitive, outside the box thinker. So one of my clients was an auto detailer, and I said, okay, if you're going to interview somebody, when they come in, have them take a seat and excuse yourself for a moment. Walk out, walk around their car, and look inside the windows. And if they are not a neat freak in their car, send them home and go to the next interview. Very easy way. I mean, if they're going to clean cars for you, their car should be sparkling, right? And they shouldn't show up to the interview without a really neat, clean car, So
that is out of the box.
Yeah. I mean, hey, think about it. Whatever it is, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes for interviewing, instead of doing that, just cut it. Just say, hey, you know what? I just took a walk outside, saw your car. It's a real dump. Sorry. Just being direct, but we're not going to continue this interview. Thank you very much. Goodbye. So,
Did he do it?
I mean, I don't know if I don't know if he did or not, but I suggest it because I'm just like, just be direct. Like, your time is valuable. Don't devote time and attention to something that's not going to work, and if they blame somebody else, say, oh, it's my spouse or whatever, then, again, then they're a victim, and that's not going to work either. The bottom line is, I get people thinking about their psychology, but also the psychology of the people they work with and interact with and the people they hire. If they're not tuned in that way, they're not in harmony. If they're not in harmony, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be a leader with all these people being dragged behind them, or people that are causing chaos, and the leader has to micromanage and fix things. So I'm very good at identifying those things with my clients. So then, they quickly realize 3 years from now, there's 2 people in their company right now that don't fit. And then they have to do something about it, which is the tough part. So,
Yeah. So I'm curious. Well, before we go into that, let's talk about mindset and the part that mindset plays on productivity. So, what kind of mindset does somebody need to achieve true productivity?
They need focus. And as you can probably attest to and realize that today people are out of focus. I mean, there's so much distraction. I mean, never mind the notifications on your phone and your computers and everything ringing and dinging and buzzing. You can shut those things off, but I'm talking about everything else that's going on, the uncertainty and so on. But so there's a few things. So people don't have focus because they're not controlling their thoughts. And most people think, well, why do I need to control my thoughts? Well, on average, we have about 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. So if we have that many thoughts per day, and we think, how many are really invested in productivity or in success, my happiness, my joy, a fulfilling life? We probably, if we can actually capture that and look at the data, it's probably not good. So there's lack of focus because we're not controlling our thoughts, and we don't control our thoughts because we don't understand how our mind works. That's the mechanics of the mind. That's why Bob Proctor was so imperative and so critical to my development and my growth, because he said there are two parts of our mind. There's conscious and subconscious. And I've learned through further studies that the conscious mind is like a RAM drive in your computer. And if your hard drive goes down, you cannot run on RAM drive. You need a massive hard drive with all the data and information and applications stored. So guess what? Conscious mind is about 2 to 4% of your results, behaviors, and actions. Subconscious mind is 94 to 96%. But it's a hard drive operating in the background, stores all information, and it doesn't do any thinking. So so people don't understand. I just explained the mechanics of the mind. There's these two parts. There's one that's invisible, operating in the background, controlling everything. It actually keeps your heart beating, your blood flowing, and all your organs and everything, all that working, your eyes blinking. It's, that's the purpose of it. But people don't realize that's what's going on. And they don't realize that even that part of their mind, all their beliefs, habits, practices, and everything were established at a young age, 0 to 7 years old. So all the programming, all the beliefs, habits, and practices are established then. And then we become a mirror image of what we learned in that time, because we couldn't filter, we couldn't reason. And then guess what? We go out in our life, and if we're, like I could have been really disorganized and late for everything. And I was for a little while, because I was late for every sporting event. I played ice hockey, and I was late for every single one. In fact, I missed a complete hockey tournament because of daylight savings. So didn't change the clock, and I was like, oh man, and I'm late, didn't get signed up. I couldn't even enter the tournament. And so I could have definitely been a mirror image of what I learned as a child, but I'm not. So again, just coming back to what you said in the beginning, what's the core problem? What's the mindset? The mindset has to be focus. It has to be a focus-driven mindset. We have to understand that we have to control our thoughts in order to be focused. And we have to understand that there's mechanics of the mind that are operating everything. And unless we consciously think about things and focus on them, guess what? That programming is going to be operating everything. It's going to, it's going to tell us what to do. We look at something, we say, well, that's hard, or I can't do that, or I'm not good enough, or, all the negative self-doubt that we have. And most people have 80% of our day is sort of in that negative zone, because we don't see ourselves as being worthy, or feeling good enough, or strong enough, or self-confident, or whatever it is. And then guess what? We're all looking for validation now. We're all looking for, it's actually, I heard it today on an interview. It's an addiction. They're saying we have an addiction to being validated and being recognized and acknowledged by others. That's why we're
That is
out there in the marketplace.
So interesting. Do you know that there is actually a word for the fear of not being good enough? That there's like a phobia? Have you heard that?
No, I haven't. I haven't heard it.
It's called a telephobia. It's the
Really?
fear of not
Okay.
being good enough. So I thought that
Okay.
was interesting. We had to do some gremlin work in my coaching school. And so we had to do a visual representation of our gremlins, or our limiting beliefs or assumptions, whatever, that we had grown up with and that we believed to be who we are today. And of course, mine and probably everybody else's circled around that I'm not good enough. And so I named my gremlin Telly, short for a telephobia.
Neat.
Yeah.
Neat. Well, you know what? That's the thing. When you name it and you bring it out, then you can look at it.
Yeah.
And then once you look at it, and this is the neat thing of once you bring something like that out, you can say, okay, what don't I like about that? My persona, or my personality, or my qualities. And you can say, what about that I don't like? What would I rather have? And this is a really important topic, and this is worth writing down for your listeners. We need to control the contrast. So the contrast is all those thoughts that you have that stop you and limit you, and then the things that you want, the future thinking and the opportunities and the great things. So it's like, if you can control the contrast. So let's say somebody's not feeling good, their head is down usually, their whole body, their whole physiology indicates they're not feeling good. We know that. We don't have to ask. I say, hey, how you doing? And I go, head down. Right? They're not feeling good, and you know it. But you can change your physiology in a moment just by picturing your future or the past experience or things like that, right? And we don't realize that we have that power. But it's the contrast. When we have those contrasting experiences, or if we can control the contrast, that makes a huge difference. I'll mention something else too, because you just mentioned, a name for, the fear of not being worthy. So I think the big problem that we all have today is mental blindness disease. And I think it's a combination of lack of focus, not controlling our thoughts, and not understanding how the mechanics of our mind work. We upgrade our phones, we update them. We update the iOS and whatever else in our phones, except we don't do it with our own minds. Why? I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it? To think that we wouldn't say, well, hey, what's getting in my way? Why wouldn't I do something about it if I knew that? Or can I upgrade? Can I update it? Sure. But that's not mainstream. People don't know how to update or upgrade their operating system. And then the mental blindness disease is the things that's getting in their way.
That is, and I could see where that would be a definite deterrent to productivity if you've got that mental blindness, that because you're so unfocused that you don't know what needs to happen next. So I have I'm very curious about this. What are your thoughts on multitasking?
Well, here's the thing. There's a great test that you can do. It's this. You write down the words, you write down the word multitasking, and then you write 1 through 13 underneath it. So you just write down the word multitasking, and then you write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you can time it. So you time how much time it takes to write down multitasking and 1 to 13. Then you take another sheet of paper and you write down M and 1, U and 2, L and 3, and keep going until you get to the end and time that. And you see how much time it takes. That's the clearest indication of how multitasking works. You're switching your mind from one thing to another, and it doesn't work.
I am so going to do that. That's interesting. So, I mean, obviously, I guess you feel like multitasking doesn't help you produce more or achieve more faster.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I don't, because it's like changing channels. So have you ever sat in a room with somebody who keeps changing channels and you keep switching the topic and what you're watching, and you're just like, okay, what story I'm on, or sport, or whatever? It's all over the map. And so it's just a bunch of confusion. So every time your mind switches, it has to get back on the same track that it was on before, which takes time. And there's studies, but in Microsoft and a bunch of companies have done studies, it takes about 15 minutes to get back on track to where you were before. Can you imagine getting interrupted like 5-10 times in a day, and then taking 15 minutes to get back to where you were and tuned in?
Dude.
So let me just mention this. So multitasking, not productive. Double tasking, okay. So double tasking is different than multitasking. Multitasking is switching from one thing to another. Double tasking, let me see if I can think of an example. But double tasking is when you can do things all at once. So actually, I'll give you an example. I like to speak my articles and books and so on. So I'll speak them into my phone, into notes, and then they pop up on my screen, and I can see where the translation is inaccurate or not and make a little adjustment. So I'm actually speaking and editing all at once. So I'm double tasking, which is super easy and fast. So I can write a 1,000-word article in a couple hours or less. So,
That's impressive. I struggle to get 600 words out sometimes.
Well, I have all this content. I have all this knowledge, all this wisdom, all this, and I can just draw from it. I keep notes on so many things, and I copy other things that I see from other people. And so whenever I need little bits of information, I can just draw on it and put it together. I just have a real skill for that.
That is a skill. I really do think that is a skill. And thank you for listening and sharing your wisdom with everybody, because I love following your articles on LinkedIn. I just think that you do a fantastic, and they're always good information. It's not like you're somebody just wants to word vomit on you. It's good information, So I really do appreciate that. Please don't stop. So what are your top 3 tips to increase productivity?
Well, again, I'm going to lean on what I was talking about earlier, about the focus and controlling your thoughts and then understanding how your mind works. So the thing is, if we could just get a little bit focused, then we're giving attention to the right thing, because where our attention goes, our energy flows, or vice versa. Energy flows where attention goes. So we need to have real focus on what we're doing, real clarity. So what I do with my clients, like to get ultimate clarity, which you know about in my book, Living Life of Your Dreams, I say, okay, how do you want to live your life? Like literally end it. I mean, if you had, if you were, speaking to the people at your own eulogy, what would you be saying? That kind of mentality. And so, going right to the very end. So that gives you a real clear picture of how do you want to live your life? Because at some point in time, every one of us will look back on our lives. And if we can't look back in, on fond memories and memorable experiences and so on, it's a life of regret. And then we're trying to fix those things, which is not fun. So early in life, we're looking forward, future, future, future. Eventually we look backwards. So I think it's critical that we get a clear picture. So like I just said, end of life, and then break that down to, something more tangible, 10 years, and then 3 year, then 1 year, then 12 months, then 12 weeks. And take your biggest goal that you have for the year, compress it into 12 weeks, put some real focus on it, and get it done. So that's, I said a couple of things there. So that it's about focus, and it's about being productive and having it very clearly defined. And the system that I use, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, is about having tactics, actions, because I use an analogy, a metaphor. So we go to the gym and we say, okay, we're going to get fit. I'm going to establish a practice and get really fit. And, so we go to the gym and we have a membership and we get aligned with a personal trainer. But then, we start thinking about, oh, how am I doing? We step on the scale almost every time. That's the end result. That's the lag indicator. That's not a lead indicator. Lead indicators, did I get on the treadmill and do 45 minutes and then do some weight training and so on, and a spin class? Those are the lead indicators. All we have to do is measure those, and the outcome is going to be there. So it's a different mentality. So the system that I'm applying, which again is a planner, it's all about setting the actions that you're going to take, and then consistently doing those actions. You don't even need to measure the end result on a consistent basis. You just need to do it every once in a while. Because if you're performing at 85% or above on the actions you're taking, you should achieve your results. That's research that was done on this. So, we don't have to question it. So focus, planning, because I talked about the objective planning. And as you can see, I don't know if you can, this is making sense, but it's like zooming way out, end of life, right? And then zooming in and then seeing, what do I want in 10 years, 3 years, 1 year, 12 months, 12 weeks, right? So it's like, you have to get objective and then zoom in and then create a plan and then focus. And the focus comes from just applying the plan, but also you should have an accountability partner. I call it accountability mastermind. So every week you get on a call and you go through your plan, look for breakdowns. Because if you're not looking for breakdowns, guess what? They show up eventually, right? End of year. Right?
Exactly. So I want to go ahead. I believe that you said that you were going to share this resource with our audience for free today. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put the link up so that everybody that's watching can see how to get access to this great, fantastic resource. But we'll have it in the show notes as well, so that those of you that are just listening can go and have access to this great planner. And I think that it's really going to help you if that is your desire to increase your productivity. So we are almost out of time, but I do want to ask you one more question before we get to our VIP questions. And that is, what would you recommend to job seekers who are currently in the market? And it can be really overwhelming right now because unemployment's, still at an all-time high, but what do you recommend to them to stay productive in their job search? What's one little trick you can give them?
Well, they have to get into their future mind. Like they have to get into their imagining faculty, which is more powerful than anything. Most people don't realize that, but if they want something, then they have to picture it. And even better, well, I wouldn't necessarily say even better than picturing it, but once they pictured something, then they should look for it and seek it and want it and anticipate it. I have something I call expectation bridge. We won't have time to go into that, but basically, what's on the other side once you get the job? Well, there's celebration and appreciation. So guess what? Go into your mind, create a celebration and an appreciation. Even write it down if you like, but get it somewhere where you can think what that feels like when I'm over there and I have that job and I have what I set my mind on. So it's definitely getting into that future thinking, looking into the future and anticipating it and taking the actions. And if they want, if they're a spiritual nature and okay talking to a higher power or spirit or the universe, infinite intelligence, then I would suggest they do this. If they sent in an application and whether they got a response or not, they should even just verbalize it. Say, if they know the person who they're communicating with, let's say their name's Casey, they say, okay, Casey, I know you've got my application. I know you like it. It's great. And I know you want to get a hold of me today to get me in because you're concerned about me being scooped up by the marketplace, right? And just, I know it's influencing other people, but we know there's enough research done that our thoughts travel. And so they'll receive that. And, if it's a good fit, if it's harmonized, they'll call or message and, you'll get called in, and next thing you know, I've had it happen with clients of mine, that were trying to get contracts, not necessarily a job, but they're looking to get consulting, and it worked.
I believe it. I think there's definitely something to be said about that imagination faculty, and I believe that was Napoleon Hill. Is that where that first came through?
The imagining, no, there's been people that have been before him.
Really?
There's a great woman, Florence Scovel Shinn. She wrote a great book called The Game of Life. She talked about it there. Napoleon Hill I used in the 1920s. Florence was pre-Napoleon Hill, but there's been there's so many great leaders and teachers about that, your imagining faculty. But here's the thing: we have 6 mental faculties. We have perception, will, imagination, memory, intuition, and reason. Look at Nikola Tesla. He said, hey, I invented the alternator in the vehicle, but not only that, I invented the plant that manufactured it and the whole production process. Invariably, it's going to happen. Why? Because I imagined it clearly in my mind. I know exactly what it looks like, and I'm going to build it. That's the power of imagination,
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get to our VIP questions. These are
Sure.
fun. So, if you were chosen to be one of the first colonists on Mars, what 3 things or people would you take with you?
It's a tough one. I have 3 children,
Oh.
But again, I thought about this. I thought, you know what? I'm not just there by myself or permanently there by myself. So I definitely would bring my wife, Natalie. So she would definitely be coming with me. And then other things I would want to bring because, if I'm a colonist, I think I'm going to be alone a lot. So I'd want to bring things that are going to entertain me. So I'd probably bring, I don't know, probably 100 or 200 audiobooks or books that I could read. So that would be another thing. And then, and again, I don't know what the scenario is, but I'd want to have a way to communicate with Earth. So if that wasn't available, I want to bring that so I could actually communicate back and forth because, I don't know how many people are with me. So if it could be very lonely. So anyway.
Okay. Very good. So, not that there's a good or bad answer to that. It's just interesting to see where people's minds go. And some people really dig in, well, how many people are there? Is there already infrastructure? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll just answer the question, Yeah. So what's one thing you do each morning to set your day up for success?
Oh, well, I won't go into the long-winded version, but I get myself set up emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually every single morning. The first 2 hours of my day are dedicated to that. Nothing else at all. I walk in nature. I do cardio. I do yoga. I do breath work. I write intentions and write affirmations. Here's the thing. If you own your morning, you own your day. So I own every single morning and I don't take a break. There's no breaks in this. This is just every single day. This is the pattern. This is the way it happens. I know exactly what to do. It's not conditional by any standards. I just go and do it, but it's every single day. And you might say, well, cardio every day, but I only do Tabata. It's just interval training, but it's 5 minutes of warming up, 4 minutes of exercise. And so I just consistently do that, walks in nature and, So I'm meditating and anyway, but yeah, 2 hours every single morning, and my day is a super success.
You know, I say that my morning ritual or my miracle morning, I'm a big Hal Elrod fan, of course, but it's a non-negotiable. If I get up an hour late, too bad. It's a non-negotiable. I'm just going to have to be late
awesome.
for work. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you own your morning, you own your day. And I also look at it a little differently. I cause myself to struggle every single morning. When I said breath work, I do this breath work where I do 4 intervals of deep breathing and then I hold my breath. And I've been able to hold my breath for 4 minutes and 1 second, which is pretty substantial in my opinion because it's difficult. But so I create struggle in my practices in the morning because I think I'm going to avoid them during my day. I just think there's going to be a limit to. So yeah, I just create some struggle in my day. I don't make it easy. And if I go on the bike every day, it's not the same thing. I turn that resistance up. I push, and my legs are burning. And I've run marathons, so I know what it's like to really push it. And I taught spinning too, so I know that too.
So my final question: if your life's work was being summarized in a news article, what would the headline be?
Dan LeFave reveals the secret to solving mental blindness disease and living a full and happy life.
I want that. How do people find you, Dan?
Well, I would say the best place to find me now, because I have a really new site, is to show up there. It's called LeFaveCoaching.com. And you'll see my links there. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit as well. But yeah, just if you want to see snapshots about me, blog posts, and all sorts of great information and some counterintuitive, outside the box thinking, my website LeFave.com is a great place. And you see my book there. You can grab a copy of the ebook and help yourself to anything else that's there. But yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this today and you got some nuggets from it, definitely follow through. Don't let it slide.
Yeah, there's no way people listen to this and didn't get nuggets today. I'm just saying. So, well, Dan, as we wrap up, I just have one more thing to say to you. You are a VIP.
Thank you, Casey.
And that's a wrap for today. Join us next week here on the We Are VIP podcast. We'd love to know how we can help you be a VIP. To find out more, log on to wearevip.com.